Welcome to the Get Fit Guy's quick and dirty tips to slim down and shape up. My name is Ben Greenfield. I'm the Get Fit Guy, and in today's episode, you're going to get 8 alternatives to sitting at your desk. So, a couple of years ago at the Ancestral Health Symposium, I presented a poster, and I'll link to the poster in the show notes. If you go to quickanddirtytips.com, you'll want to look for the show notes to this episode number 271. Anyways, the poster was called Biohacking the Hazards of Sitting. Well, as you'll see, I actually thought I was being quite witty to present that poster on the dangers of sitting while I was sitting with poor posture in a folding chair. Just check out the video and also the poster. Again, the show notes are episode 271 at quickanddirtytips.com. Anyways, it's actually been over 5 years since I've personally adopted the habit of frequently alternating positions throughout my workday. And I highlight that strategy in articles like How Should You Stand at a Standing Desk and my podcast about memory foam and the science of walking barefoot in shoes. My own personal office is actually like a tiny playground. It's littered with kettlebells, a pull-up bar, a boxing bag, a treadmill workstation, and a variety of standing surfaces, including an acupressure mat that I've wrapped around a standing mat. Yeah, I get a little bit crazy. So anyways, in the Get Fit Guy episode, 7 Ways to Stand More, I tell you that I choose to alternate between so many different positions during the day because when you stand in just one position, it can be tiring and put undue stress on your feet, ankles, hips, and back if that's your only position during the day. So in today's episode, without a particular order of importance, I'm going to give you the 8 most popular positions I personally adopt during a typical week of work. Number 1 is the lunge. I'll often fold up a towel or use a foam mat and simply lunge at a table or a desk with one leg forward and one leg back. It's a great stretch for the hip flexor and a position you can easily type or talk in. Rather than sitting, I will often use this position during meetings that take place around a table. Number 2 is walking. And many people think they got to have a fancy treadmill workstation to walk and a stand-up desk. But you can actually pace without a stand-up desk or a treadmill. While you're on the phone, you can walk outside while dictating notes or articles to yourself on a portable recorder or on your iPhone or Android, or you can walk on a treadmill while reading or catching up on conference calls that have been recorded. You could do that when you're at the gym. Just be creative and understand that you can get work done, not just when you're in a lunge position, but also when you're walking. The next position is kneeling. Like lunging, kneeling is a perfect position for getting down to a standard table or desk height without actually sitting. Be sure not to slouch if you kneel, and instead kneel upright with your shoulders slightly squeezed back and your head and neck tall. You'll also want a towel or mat for this position, most likely. Number 4 is to sit on the floor. Rather than sitting at a table, I'll often spread out on the floor to eat lunch, work on my laptop, or converse with someone. When you sit on the floor, you're forced to engage in more hip and hamstring mobility than when you're sitting in a chair. Just try to go one day without sitting in a chair and notice how much your body has to work. Number 5 is a balance board. Many companies now make special balance boards, which are basically a standing platform made of metal or wood that's balanced over a central fulcrum. If you Google fluid stance, you'll see an example of the one that I use. It's not quite as hard as many balance challenging devices, so you can still focus on your work without worrying about falling on your face, but it still makes all those tiny muscles in your feet, knees, hips, and core work just a little harder. Number 6 is a foam mat. Like a balance board, a foam mat can challenge your balance a bit, but also offers a more forgiving surface for your feet and calves than, say, hardwood, carpet, or other standard flooring material. If you have a foam mat, it can also double as a surface for lunging and kneeling too. I'm going to put a link in the show notes over at quickanddirtytips.com for this episode number 271, and that link will show you a video where you can see my own desk and office setup as well as the foam mat that I use. Number 7 is a topographical mat. Have you ever seen a mat made out of tiny river rocks? It's just what it sounds like. It's a wide variety of small objects on a mat surface that force your feet muscles to shift and to work harder while also stretching precious ligaments and tendons in your feet. Well, my sons and I are actually in the process of making a special mat made out of tiny river rocks this month. And some companies like Topomat now make mats with a wide variety of angles and surfaces that work similarly. I recently, like I mentioned, posted an image on my Instagram page, which is over at instagram.com/Ben Greenfield Fitness, of a creative way I pieced together my own Topomat with an acupressure blanket and a foam mat. It actually works really well. Number 8 is to finally stand. Now, in my podcast interview with the author of The Good News About What's Bad for You and the Bad News About What's Good for You, we discussed how standing all day long can often put you into poor posture with locked out knees, beat up ankles, and blood pooling in your calves and lower extremities. That's why I saved this one for last. However, standing is still a position I find myself for a good 3 to 5 hours every day, and I typically intersperse the other 7 positions you've discovered in this article in between my standing sessions. So that's it. Which of these have you tried? Do you have your own questions about these 8 alternatives to standing at your desk or your own to add? Well, you can join the conversation at facebook.com/getfitguy. And until next time, I'm Ben Greenfield, the Get Fit Guy, asking you, what are you waiting for? Go get fit.